You arrive in the world in Seorabil, capital of the Silla kingdom in early 7th century Korea. Hills surround the city. Royal tomb mounds rise nearby. Gold crowns and glass beads sit under the earth while you cry and kick on a wooden floor. You do not know it, but this city will control the southeast of the peninsula for centuries. Seorabil is crowded for its time. Tens of thousands of people live inside and around the walls. Palace offices line the Wolseong area. Monks walk toward temple sites that will grow into huge complexes. Grain, iron, and cloth move through markets every day. From the start, you breathe air filled with dust, incense, and politics. Your parents are not farmers. They belong to the bone rank system, the frozen ladder that runs Silla. That system sorts every family into fixed ranks. Rank decides your office, your marriage options, your clothing, even the width of your house gate. Your birth is less acute event and more a line on a very strict chart. Officials track families in careful lists. At the top are sacred bone royals. Below them are true bone nobles. Under that sit layered head ranks. Each step down means fewer rights, smaller houses, and less access to real power. Colors on your clothes are controlled by this chart. Which saddle you sit on, which seat you take at a feast, which title you may dream of, all of it sits inside this system that started long before you and does not care about your feelings. You are probably in the true bone group or a very high head rank. That is the only way you will matter later. Servants move through the courtyard. Tutors visit. Your mother and father can read and write in classical Chinese, the script used for laws and state records. You will study it as soon as you can hold a brush without chewing it. Childhood still has games, but they are watched. You bow to older relatives in a set order. You learn who sits where at meals. You hear which cousin can marry into which branch of which clan. You see who lowers their eyes when a higher rank walks by. You grow up inside rules you did not vote for. The kingdom is training you for something. It has plans for that pretty, high-ranking skull of yours. Selected as elite flower youth. You hit your early teens and suddenly adults start staring at your face a lot. Not in a loving parent way, in a recruitment way. Silla needs new Hwarang, and the kingdom likes them young, noble, and annoyingly good-looking. Scouts from high families and officials look over boys from true bone and top head ranks. They check manners, posture, and how you move in a crowded hall. You are watched at feasts, in family rituals, even during archery practice. Your life turns into one long audition. The record from a Chinese envoy in Silla describes young nobles with powdered faces, fine clothes, and people crowding around them in public. The envoy did not invent that. He wrote what he saw in the 7th century. Hwarang are not a myth. They are documented. Real teenage elites who stand out in crowds because of rank, clothes, and very deliberate grooming. Your mother and attendants lean into the moment. Hair gets longer and smoother. Robes upgrade from normal, noble to peak fashion. Colors and patterns still follow bone rank rules, but they now push right to the edge of what the law allows. You are being styled for the role. Then comes the decision. A leading figure chooses you and a few other boys to form or join a Hwarang group. Each group has a central Hwarang leader, and many followers called Nangdo. Buddhist monks and court elders advise them, you are no longer just a noble child. You are now part of a state-approved youth corps. There is a ritual element. Sources describe Hwarang associated with sacred mountains, with Maitreya, and with songs and processions. Your group receives a name. You swear loyalty to king, parents, friends. You agree to fight when called. You nod along as if this is normal teenage life. From that day on, you walk through Seorabil as a marked person. You are Silla property. The kingdom has taken your bone rank, your face, and your nerves, and turned them into a public symbol called Flower Youth. Learning the 5 Commandments. Your new life as a Flower Youth starts in a lecture hall, not on a battlefield. You want a sword? You get a monk with a calm voice and a long list. Violence can wait. First, they rewire your brain. The monk writes 5 lines. These are the famous 5 commandments for secular life. You will hear them so often they might as well be tattooed on your skull. Be loyal to the king. Be filial to your parents. Be faithful to your friends. Never retreat in battle. Be careful when taking life. The rules sound simple. They are not. Loyalty to the king means you do not just serve the throne. You serve the current body in the royal seat, even if court politics get dirty. Filial piety means you obey parents who may trade your future for family gain. Faith with friends means you do not betray the guy who might drag you into a suicidal charge. Never retreat means stand firm when every part of you wants to run. Be careful taking life is the soft voice trying to stand up to all the others. You repeat each line. The monk drills you with questions. What if the king is wrong? What if your friend is a coward? What if saving your parents means breaking a law? You are not just asked to memorize. You are forced to rank your values, then live with the order. Behind the monk's back is a second layer: Confucian virtues, humaneness, righteousness, propriety, wisdom, trustworthiness. You read short passages from older Chinese texts. You copy them in careful brushstrokes, ink on paper, then ink on habit. You learn that a real Hwarang is not only beautiful and brave, he is supposed to be a walking moral ad for Silla. People will judge the kingdom by how you act in a market, in a temple, in a tavern, in a trench. No pressure. There are moments of dark comedy. You and your friends swear to never retreat, then almost faint standing too long in full gear under the sun. You promise to be pure and noble, then gossip about who cried during practice. The kingdom wants saints and heroes. It gets teenagers with homework and very sharp weapons on the way. Nature trips and spiritual training. You wake up before sunrise and someone is already yelling about mountains. Welcome to the next stage of flower youth life. The kingdom has fed you ethics. Now it wants your body, your breath, and your free time. Your group moves out of Silla in a long line, robes hitched up, boots on, bows and small drums slung over shoulders. This is Pengwaldo, the way of wind and moon, a mix of hiking trip, field school, and spiritual boot camp. You are going to sacred peaks, river bends, and shrines marked long before your birth. You travel with monks, older attendants, and other Hwarang. There are songs for the road. There are rules for when you can talk and when you should stay silent. The land itself is a classroom. Every valley and ridge comes with a story about kings, battles, or spirits that do not like to be ignored. At a mountain site, the schedule flips from noble comfort to controlled discomfort. You chant sutras. You bow until your thighs shake. You hold still in meditation while legs cramp and bugs crawl on your skin. Then you stand up to practice forms, stances, and breathing drills. No one calls this vacation. It is state-sponsored character building. The view is great. The expectations are higher. On rest breaks, you compose short verses. Some praise Maitreya, the future Buddha. Some praise the king. Some quietly complain about the blisters. Senior Hwarang, check your wording for respect. Monks check it for doctrine. Everyone checks that you are still upright. Nights are another test. Fires burn low. Stories roll out about earlier Hwarang who became generals or died young and glorious. You listen, half proud and half alarmed. You come home from each journey thinner, tougher, and slightly less impressed with comfort. Weapons, horses, and battle drills. Your sword dreams finally pay off. Training shifts from chanting on mountains to sweating on fields outside Silla. The ground shakes with hooves. The air smells like leather, oil, and teenage panic. You are now learning how to turn your pretty face into a state weapon. Instructors do not care about your poetry skills. They care about how fast you draw a blade and how long you can hold a shield. You start with archery, the pride of Silla forces. Composite bows hit targets at serious range. Miss too many shots and the instructor looks at you like you are wasting royal resources. Then come spears, long shafts, iron heads, drills in tight lines. A spear wall keeps cavalry away and breaks infantry charges. You learn to thrust, step, and keep formation. Someone always forgets their stepping rhythm and hits a friend. The instructor solves this with more drills and louder shouting. Mounted training is the real prize. Horses are expensive. Only high-ranked troops get to ride. You climb up, try to look noble, then nearly fall off when the horse decides it dislikes you. Instructors teach you to fight from the saddle, control speed, and stay upright during sudden turns. This skill turns elite youth into battlefield leaders. Without it, you stay in the mud with everyone else. Armor fittings take time. You wear lamellar plates tied together, heavy enough to feel, light enough to move. You practice walking, running, and breathing under the weight. Every day ends with sore shoulders and bruises in places you did not know existed. Formations become your new religion. Lines, wedges, flanks, signal flags, drum beats. You learn to follow orders fast. You learn to hold position when arrows start flying. The 5 commandments echo again. Never retreat. That rule feels different once you see arrows embedded in wooden targets. There are glimpses of future legends. Older Hwarang talk about Kim Yu-sin, a young noble rising through ranks who will command massive armies. His name spreads through training fields like a rumor of greatness. You try not to panic at the thought of fighting under someone famous. First skirmishes on the frontier. Orders arrive. You are sent out of Silla with a unit of Hwarang and Nangdo followers. No more drills. No more safe targets. The 3 kingdoms are locked in border fights. Silla wants control of key passes near the Han River Valley in the 630s. Baekje and Goguryeo want the same ground. You are now part of the struggle. Your first task is patrol duty, long marches through valleys and forest roads. Villages sit half empty, Farmers watch from doorways. They know armies move here. They know raids come fast. You move quietly, bow in hand, armor creaking, trying to look calm. The first clash is small. Scouts see movement. Your commander signals. Arrows fly. You hear a scream. This is not training. Bodies fall and stay down. Your stomach drops. You remember the rule to never retreat. You also remember that the enemy does not care about your moral code. Border fights are messy. Records show many small engagements long before the big wars of 660. These skirmishes decide supply lines, road control, and morale. You are part of teams guarding mountain passes and river crossings. A lost patrol can lead to a larger attack. Your unit protects traders, messengers, and grain carts. The kingdom runs on that grain. Losing it starves armies. Losing roads isolates forts. State survival rests on young fighters who barely know how to sleep in armor. You learn fast. Fires stay small. Camp talk stays quiet. You rotate watch shifts. You track footprints in mud. You learn which trails can hide an ambush. You hate fog. It hides movement and makes every tree look like an attacker with a spear. There are brutal lessons. One skirmish ends with a friend hit by an arrow. He bleeds out within minutes. Training never covered the part where he calls for help, and no healer arrives. You hold the line because the commander orders it. The fight ends. He does not get back up. Campaigns in the Unification Wars. You return home for a short break. Then history knocks. The year is 660. Silla forms a major alliance with Tang China. Yes, the empire with huge armies and shiny bureaucracy. The goal is simple: crush Baekje in the southwest. After that, knock down Goguryeo in the north. You are now a tiny piece in a massive plan. The army gathers near the western front. Tens of thousands of Silla troops move with Tang fleets and soldiers. Supply wagons stretch for miles. Officers shout orders that echo across fields. You march toward Baekje territory, feeling both proud and terrified. This is no border fight. This is a kingdom-ending event. Baekje has strong fortresses. The famous one is Sabi. Tang ships attack by river. Silla forces attack on land. You help cut off roads and block food deliveries. Records note the fall of Baekje in 660 after a fast collapse once leaders surrendered. Ordinary soldiers fight on, but leadership cracks. The kingdom ends. You watch nobles dragged away, their royal line broken. The next target is Goguryeo, a fortress-loving powerhouse in the north. It takes years. Major assaults in 661 fail. Goguryeo walls hold. Disease hits troops. Supplies strain. Records mention harsh winters and heavy losses. You march again in 667 with new forces. In 668, Goguryeo finally falls after internal betrayal and combined attacks. The unification of the peninsula under Silla becomes real. You are there for the grind, the hunger, and the siege smoke. Your role is support and control. You lead units that secure captured towns. You escort envoys. You carry messages between commanders and Tang officers. You also try to stop looting by angry troops. Good luck with that. War brings out the worst in everyone. You see how alliances feel on the ground. Tang officers treat Silla troops like junior partners. Some Silla commanders resent it. You hear arguments over who gets credit. You also hear whispers that Tang wants more than a friendly Korea. You keep your head down. You want to live long enough to retire. Victories come with cost. Soldiers freeze in northern winds. Disease spreads in camps. Food shortages kill more men than arrows. You bury friends without markers. Government administration roles. You come home from war expecting rest. The kingdom has other plans. Unified Silla needs officials, not wandering veterans. Your bone rank makes you eligible for real office. Congratulations! You survive battle long enough to become a paperwork machine. You enter the central bureaucracy in Gyeongju. Offices fill the palace district. Clerks copy records in classical Chinese. Officials debate tax rights and land grants. The sound of war drums disappears. The sound of brushes on bamboo slips replaces it. Your first job is not glamorous. You supervise land registers in a district. Silla controls new territories after 668. Someone must count fields, households, and grain. That someone is you. You travel with escorts, visit villages, check who owns what, and mark it down. You never imagined your life would hinge on rice tallies. The bone rank system controls your career ceiling. True bone nobles hold the highest offices. Head ranks fill lower posts. Records show strict limits on titles and authority tied to rank. You cannot rise above your birth level, no matter how many battles you survive or how smart you are. Promotion charts look less like merit and more like a locked staircase. It does not matter that you fought at Baekje or marched north in winter. Birth still beats effort. Meetings drain your patience. Governors report crop failures. Temple officials request exemptions. Local elites complain about taxes. You learn fast that civil rule is messy. Wars end kingdoms. Bureaucracy preserves them. Your military past follows you. Soldiers salute you in towns. Villagers treat you like a hero. That fades once you order higher taxes or deny petitions. Nothing kills admiration faster than enforcing state policy. You write reports for the Central Council. You review cases of land disputes. You send recommendations to ministers. Some get approved. Some vanish in the palace maze. You begin to understand that power is not just orders. Power is paperwork that actually reaches someone who cares. Years pass. You gain skill. You gain weight. You lose patience. Deepening Buddhist ties and patronage. Your hair starts to gray. Your knees complain about stairs. The court still pulls you in, but your heart drifts toward temples. Silla is a Buddhist kingdom in full bloom. Monks shape politics, culture, and public life. You spent your youth chanting on mountains. Now you return to those lessons with fewer arrows flying at your head. You visit great temples in Gyeongju. Hwarang rises as one of the largest complexes in East Asia. Sources mention a 9-story wooden pagoda built in the 7th century. Architects brag about the height. You stare up and feel your neck pop. Monks claim it protects the kingdom. You hope it protects your back. Donations become part of your routine. Land, grain, cloth, labor. You give because it helps the soul, and because officials respect generous patrons. Temples feed travelers, teach children, and host rituals for national protection. You want good karma and good politics. You sponsor a small shrine near your home. Records show nobles donating slaves, farmland, and gold items to temples. Some donations earn carved names on stone or wood. You like that idea. Your younger self wanted glory in battle. Your older self wants his name spelled correctly on a pillar. Monks recognize you from earlier campaigns. They remember sending blessings to troops. They now offer advice on aging and discipline. You trade stories. They tell you about meditation practice. You tell them about sieges where meditation meant not screaming while rocks hit the walls. You attend memorial rituals for fallen friends. Drums echo in halls. Incense burns thick. You hear names read aloud. Some belong to boys who never reached adulthood. Teaching becomes part of your role. Young nobles ask about virtue and duty. You talk about loyalty, then mention the cost. You talk about never retreating, then mention the graves. At home, you keep a small altar. You light candles. You chant short verses. You feel calmer than you did in government halls. The kingdom still demands service, but you now serve something larger than a throne. Decline of Hwarang status and meaning. Your joints hurt. Younger officials call you respected elder, with the same tone they use for old furniture. The court changes fast. New factions rise. Old heroes fade. The worst part is what happens to the title you carried, like armor. Hwarang no longer means elite warrior youth. It starts to mean something closer to pretty boy, with time to waste. Records from later unified Silla show the shift. Court writers complain that young Hwarang focus on songs, dances, and flirting instead of military skill. Monasteries still bless them, but commanders stop trusting them in real campaigns. The core becomes symbolic while real power moves to generals and ministers who did not grow up chanting on mountaintops. Your blood pressure spikes when you hear a merchant call a traveling performer a Hwarang. The term spreads to entertainers, shamans' husbands, even idle nobles who dress well but never train. Historical texts note this decline clearly. The once respected flower youth institution slowly turns into a label for fashionable layabouts. You survived sieges and watched kingdoms fall. Now, street gossip uses your title as a joke. The insult lands harder than any spear. You meet a new generation of nobles. They admire the legends but avoid the discipline. They complain about early mornings and armor weight. They hold lutes instead of bows. They pose for crowds and call it duty. You stare and wonder if the kingdom deserves whatever happens next. Court politics fracture. Royal assassinations and rebellions shake the palace. You watch as powerful families fight for control. The once unified state strains under corruption and regional tensions. You recognize the warning signs. You saw Baekje collapse when leadership faltered. You remember Goguryeo falling after internal betrayal. Now you see similar cracks at home. You spend more time at temples. Fewer young nobles show up for training trips. They prefer parties in the capital. Monks sigh. You sigh harder. You sit outside your home and watch the sun hit the royal tomb mounds. You once walked as a symbol of Silla strength. Now you watch the symbol dissolve, while you stay very real, very tired, and painfully aware that the kingdom forgot what made it strong.